Welcome to Modern Mystic Messages. I'm Teresa, and thank you for stopping by, clicking on the video. I wanted to make a quick part two to the video that I recently uploaded, the second coming of the Christ, of Christ. The in part one we talked about the traditional, what people normally think of as the return of Christ, but there's a whole other line of thought that I really hadn't gotten into at all in that one, but I wanted to mention it here, which is what if, and again, this is supposition. I know I'm not the only one that feels this way, but this is more of a supposition on my part and those who think like us. What if Yeshua was not pointing to a physical return of him at all, or even referring to the Battle of Armageddon and all that, which I believe there is that meaning, that it has some significance there. However, there's also a thought, and it makes a lot of sense, that he, especially with knowing that he was most likely a yogi, he's for sure a mystic, and that the term Christ or Christos is not a name, it's a point of spiritual evolution, reaching that Christhood or Christos mentality, or point of ascension, if you will. So, what if the return of Christ was Yeshua coming in energetically to pave the way for those who are awakening during this mass awakening to be able to reach or attain their Christhood? That there, because he said, "In my Father's house there are many mansions; there I go to prepare a place for you." So what if he was welcoming an influx of fellow brothers and sisters, fellow Christs, if you will, because he said, "Greater things than I have done will you do." In the end times, he said, Holy Spirit will be coming as a helper to us. And in that time, there will be many people that will be prophesying and seeing things. Now, there's also a time when a lot of them say, "Aren't we doing all this?" And he said there was a lot of the false prophets that would say, "Aren't we prophesying in your name and doing all that?" And he said, "Yet I never knew you. Get away from me." But he also said that those who were following him, there would be, he pointed to basically a massive awakening with Holy Spirit nudging those people into service as they were preparing to move into new earth, that there would be an outpouring of spiritual gifts, there would be an outpouring of healing and things like that, that you'd be seeing a resurgence of that within the true followers of him. They would be opening to their own Christ. So it would be a returning or a resurgence of Christ energy. We hear people talk about the Christ consciousness grid. That's a real thing. Why do you think those monks sit up in the mountains for years and years and years and meditate? They're holding the energy of that grid. That's important work. I'm glad they did it, because you know, I ain't gonna say what I wouldn't do. I love to meditate, but I don't know if I'm into it like that. But it's been done. They were holding that down. And then that information, a lot of the information that came out of the East started pouring into the West right around the time when the Millerites and all the rest of them said that this Christic energy, or the return of the Christ, was being looked towards around the 1850 mark. Isn't that about when, like, yoga and tantra and meditation and all those things, Ayurveda and Chinese medicine and all of those energetic forms, Reiki, all of that stuff started kind of leaking its way into the Western world, where it had been kept away from the Western world for thousands of years? But it's paving the way for people to be able to open to their Christ. So I honestly believe that the return of the Christ has a dual meaning. It's important for us. Yes, there are the Bible prophecies, and even to some degree the Anunnaki prophecies, and all of that kind of point to a showdown, if you will, that may have more of energetic or even an etheric component of the personality we know as Yeshua. Whether it's a physical return, which I don't think it is, or an energetic return, but there's also a significant place for a return of Christ consciousness on this planet, and that will wind up with many, 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 many Christos. Most likely, them 144,000 it alludes to in the scriptures, those would be the ones that are turning off their worship gene and turning on their Christ consciousness. Those are the ones that will build new earth. So I'm sorry, I realized when I got through that I had kind of left that component out, and I wanted to address it a little bit. So I'm not going to stay on this long. This is going to be a really short part two, kind of tacked on as a tail end. But I appreciate you for checking this part out with me as well. And again, I love you. Talk to you in the next one. Peace and blessings to you, family. Namaste.